Right, good day, grade 11s. This is the grade 11 June examination guidance session for task 3.1 and 3.2. My name is Nolene DeToy. I am the information technology teacher at the online school, and I will be doing this guidance session with you. Please make sure that you can hear me. If you are struggling to hear me, please turn up your speaker volume. The topics we are going to cover today is the June examination preparation session for both the practical and the written exam. For the practical exam, we're going to look at how do I get the test data, how to unzip a file, how do I submit my code, what should I study, what is the layout of the paper, and how can you prepare. For the written exam, what you should study, what is the layout of the paper, and how can you prepare, and additional information. Right. First of all, make sure when you are writing. Go to your OLP, to resources, to general, and download the exam timetable. Double check the dates and times you're writing an exam. Right. You are doing your written exam first. So your written exam, paper 2, task 3.2 is being written first, and that is week 1 on Tuesday, the 23rd of May. Your practical exam, your paper 1, task 3.2 is being written second, all right, and that is in week 3 on Tuesday, the 6th of June. All right. Note that both of them are in session 2 at 2 o'clock. That means you have to be, if you're in the online school, you have to be in the session at 1:30. All right. And if you're homeschooled, that means that's when the test will be available, will be at 22:02 on the day. Right, written question paper. Let's look at the written question paper first. So for the written question paper, you will be studying, look in your year plan, go to your OLP, to your welcome lesson, and look at the year plan, and you will see what you need to study. So for the written exam, for term 1, it's module 1.1 hardware, 1.2 software, 2.1 networks, and 3.1 ICT and society. Then from term 2, also chapter 2.1 networks, and then e-communication and computer management. Right, so those are the chapters you need to study for your written exam. Also keep in mind that in your written exam, there is a solution development question. All right, so things like algorithms, okay, and other skills that can be tested in a written exam from practical will also be tested in the solution development question. So it's always a good idea to look on a past paper at the solution development question to see how that will be asked. Right, then for the practical paper, you need to know how to create an algorithm, chapter 1 to 5 in the practical textbook, right? And then for term 2, also chapter 4 and 5, chapter 11, 6, 7, and appendix C, which focuses on rich edit formatting. Right, so please make sure that you've studied all of those modules. And then remember, this is the grade 11 modules that you are focusing on. But you do have to have your base knowledge from grade 10, right? So in grade 10 for practical, you learned how to declare a variable, how to assign values to variable, how to generate a random number, all of those basic things that you've done in grade 10. You need to know that for grade 11. So even though it's not explicitly listed here, it is foundational knowledge that you need to have. So it's always a good idea to revise your grade 10 work as well when you are studying for the practical exam. Always keep your grade 10 and 11 and 12 books, because in your matric final exam, you have to know all 3 textbooks, grade 10, 11, and 12. Right. What is the layout of your paper? Your June examination consists of 2 papers, the practical paper, which is a total marks of 120 for 3 hours, and then your written paper, which is a total marks of 120, and the time is 2.5 hours, right? And you should focus on your term 1 and term 2 work from the year plan. Right. How do I prepare for a written exam, guys? Your textbook is the first place to start. Complete the activities in the textbook. At the end of each chapter or module in the textbook, there's questions that show you exactly how does it get asked, how do the questions get phrased, and then on the OLP, under resources by information technology is the answers to the questions. So first work out the questions yourself and then go mark yourself using the memo. All right, that's the best way. Do the questions, work out the questions. And remember to also look at questions, solution development questions, like algorithms, flowcharts, problem solving, and Delphi skills for the written exam. Okay, so on the OLP, there is past papers that you can download. Look at that solution development question as well. Right, uh, how can you prepare for the written exam? So like I said, use your textbook. At the end of your textbook, at the end of each module or chapter, there's a glossary, and it focuses on the terms that was used in that chapter. Right. So those are the terms you really need to know because that's the new work that you've just done. So make sure that you have your own terminology list that you're building up. If you don't, there is a list on the OLP that you can download, a terminology list, and make sure that you know the terms that is used inside each of the chapters. Right. Then it's always easier if I can see something visually, I can learn it visually. So I have made a suggestion for a YouTube channel that has very nice animated videos that are specifically covering the work that you need to know. Okay, so it's called Power Search Animated Videos. So if you just on YouTube search Power Search Animated Videos, right, you'll see it comes up with this little text screen icon. Then you know it's the right one. And they have very nice videos that visually explain to you. So this example that I have here is cache. So cache is one of the terms that you guys need to know. And this one specifically focuses on CPU cache. So inside my CPU, there's a special high-speed memory called SRAM. But inside my RAM, my primary memory, it is dynamic RAM. Okay, so why is SRAM so much faster? Because SRAM is static and DRAM is dynamic. Okay, so therefore DRAM constantly has to be refreshed. We know that. All right, we know that RAM is volatile, that it needs to be refreshed. Okay, so now we know why, because it's the type of memory it is. And inside the CPU, the cache memory is SRAM, so it doesn't have to be constantly refreshed and it's faster. So it explains a concept like that quite neatly. It's very visual, all right, so it's easier to understand. So if you are more of a visual learner and you're struggling just with the concept on in a textbook, go look at these. They really help you to grasp the concept and go work through the questions and answers from the textbook. All right. Beware of the time. So my suggestion is work on a marker minute. So when you start question one, write down what time did you start question one, okay? And if question one is 10 marks, then you should take 10 minutes. Write down when you should be done. When you get to that 10 minutes, stop doing question one, go to question two, all right? Because sometimes we sit on a question that we're struggling with, and there's still 2 or 3 questions afterwards that we could have answered, but we never got around to it. So my tip is work on a marker minute, which will then leave you with an half an hour that you can then say, okay, I didn't finish question one, but I know I could do it if I had more time. Then you can go back to question one. All right, so in that way, you get to work through all the questions, and then with the half an hour left, you can go back to the question that you know that you can best spend that half an hour on. Okay, please, if you do skip a question, mark clearly on the paper. I've skipped this question, I've answered it at the back, all right, and then please number clearly, especially if you're skipping questions, but all the time, number clearly so that people can easily see what question you're answering, right? Um, Always start a question on a new page. So if you finish question one, so 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and you finished all of them, rule off, start question two on a new page. Answer 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, all of them. When you get to the end, rule off, start question three on a new page. All right. Please read the instructions carefully. Don't assume what the question is asking. Don't just see a keyword and start answering. Read the question carefully. Do not leave out any questions. Okay, so if a question is challenging you, mark it clearly, right? Skip it, and then at the end of the paper, make sure that you go back to the ones that you have skipped. Okay, so mark it clearly that you know to go back to them. Then for the practical exam, how do I get the test data? The practical exam works just like the written exam. You're going to go to your OLP, you're going to download the task. The only difference is going to be when you download the practical, instead of downloading a PDF, it's going to be a zip file. Okay, so you're going to go into your OLP, make sure you're at the right subject, at the right date, at the right task, and you're going to download your paper. Right. When you download the practical paper, it will be a zip, and when you download the written paper, it will be a PDF. Okay. Guys, if this download button is not showing, make sure that you haven't gone in too early. Remember, it's only going to show 20 minutes before the start of the paper. So if we start writing at 12, it's only going to show up at 20 to 12 for download. Right. Make sure that your parents isn't logged in. So if you look at the top right of your OLP, it should be your name, your student number that's logged in. Right, not your parents. Okay. Then make sure that you've refreshed. We just spoke about caching. So one of the ways that your computer speeds up internet browsing is that when you visit a website, it stores a cached version of the website on your computer. So the next time you go to that website, it opens from your computer instead of off the internet. All right. So when you refresh your browser, it will actually go and fetch a new version from the internet. All right. So at the top left of your browser, there's two little arrows that you can click to refresh, or F5. Okay, that's what we call a soft refresh. But for a hard refresh, you use Control and F5. So at the bottom left of your keyboard, there's a key that says CTRL. And at the top of your keyboard, there's function keys that go F1 to F12. All right. So if you go to F5 and you hit refresh, your OLP will refresh. All right. And you will get the newest version with the download button so you can download. For the practical exam, I just want to really focus on the scope of variables. So when I declare a variable, that variable will then exist in RAM. So it's basically a storage space in RAM that I book out, and I say I want to store a value here, and that value has a certain data type. The data type determines the size of the space that's made available and also how the computer will then interact with that variable. Okay, but that variable has a scope or a lifetime that it will exist and that it's available. So it could be local or global, which can also be called private, public, or class scope. Okay, so what's the difference? These variables, I number one, I number two, they are local variables. They've been declared inside the procedure. So the procedure button capture click, right? I have declared the variables between the name of the procedure and the begin. These variables will only be able to be accessed and only exist between this begin and end. When I get to this end, I will no longer be able to access any values that I've placed inside that variable. Right, so that's good memory management. So I'm only using it in this procedure. When I'm done, I give that memory back to the computer so it can use it for something else. Okay. A global variable we only declare if I have more than one procedure that needs to make use of that value. So the value that I've put in here is my input from the user, two numbers. Then I've added these two numbers together and stored it in a variable. But in this procedure, I want to display the value that was stored in that variable. In other words, both these procedures need to access the value stored or need to access the variable to store or to read from values that are stored inside the variable. Right. So I answer is declared under private. Okay. So that means I answer is available to all procedures, all methods, functions inside this unit can access the value inside I answer for the entire time this unit is running. Okay. So why do I not declare it over here? If I declare a variable over here, so you'll see you always have implementation in Delphi, and then above implementation is like a list of everything that's in the program, and then below implementation is your actual code. So you will see that there's always one variable declared there, the form variable, right? That is because Delphi does that automatically. But we never declare our global variables there because if I declare a variable there, I haven't set its scope, right? Bad memory management, okay? So set the scope of your variable. If it's private, it means that variable is only available to this unit. If I declare the variable under public, then this value would be available to other units as well, okay? So let's say I have a Delphi program with two units. So I have two forms so that I can have multiple screens like you have in your PAT. And I need this value to then be available to procedures or methods in both units. Then I will declare I answer under public. All right. So where you declare your variables does make a difference you need to make sure that you practice good memory management. All right, and yeah, those are the variables. Then the other thing is the rich editing. So you'll see in your learn year plan, they focus on Appendix C. So that's at the end of the Delphi IT is Great at Delphi textbook, Appendix C, right? And it's for specifically focused on the formatting of a rich edit. So a rich edit is very often used for output, and when we output to a rich edit, it's rich edit.lines.add. Okay, but that whole point that it's a rich edit is what defines it from a memo, for instance. So a memo also has lines not add, but in a rich edit, we can do a lot more formatting. So that's why it's called rich edit, because it's got more formatting that it can do. Okay, so the first one obviously is if I add to a rich edit, it's rich edit lines dot add. And if I want to clear any lines, I can just use rich edit dot clear. Rich edit dot lines dot clear does exactly the same. Okay, so that basically deletes any lines and this adds any lines. Okay, so what about the formatting? So if I want to format the entire rich edit, in other words, all the lines in the rich edit, then I can simply say rich edit.font.size equals 12, and then all the lines in the rich edit will have a font size of 12. Same thing with the color. Rich edit.font.color, remember it's color without a U, it's American, right? And all colors start with this keyword CL, so CL red. So that means all the font, all the text inside the rich edit will be red. Okay. Then the font style. Remember, font styles go in square brackets, and I can have multiple values. So I can have if is bold, comma, if is underline. Okay. Right. And that would make all the text inside the rich edit bold. Then font.name to set to a specific font, right? Like Comic Sans, MS. All the font will be Comic Sans. And then paragraph.alignment. All right, so then TA center will center align all the text in the paragraph. All right, so you can also have TA left justified for left align and TA right justified for right align. But what if I don't want to format the whole rich edit out? So I don't want to format all the lines. I just want to format a specific line. Then just before I say rich edit aligns.add for that specific line, I do the following, and this will only set the formatting for the next line. So if I change it again, then that formatting will fall away. All right. So rich edit out dot cell attributes to set specific lines dot size. So only the following lines, any lines before will not change size. Okay. Cell attributes color, only the lines following will have color. All right. So the difference is the cell attributes. Best way to do that is just put a rich edit on a form and go play, guys. The best way to learn to code is to code. So go put rich edit on a form, add some lines, and go play with the formatting. Right. Remember, when we are extracting off the OLP, it's going to be a zip file. So a zip file has the little zip and it has the file extension .zip. So that means it's a compressed file. So it's multiple files that have all been put into one file. So you only need to download one file and it's compressed. So it's quicker download. Right. So you need to extract it. So you can simply select the file, right click and say extract all, and it will extract it. You don't have to install any fancy unzipping software, guys. Windows have unzip built into it, I think, like since almost Windows 7 or something. Okay, right, even earlier. You don't have to install a separate program. You can just use the built-in functionality, extract all. Click one on the file to select it, right click and choose extract all. Right. Then once you've extracted it, I always go into Delphi and I work from Delphi so that I don't open two programs at the same time or open the unit but not the project. Okay, so inside Delphi, once I've extracted it, I go to File, Open Project. Not open because then you might separate the units and the project from each other. Always open project, right? Then you look, it will only show you the project files. You look for the DPR or the one that says Delphi project file, and you open that project file, and that will open your first question. Right. All right, then submit my code. Remember, you only need to submit your code. We've given you the interface. You don't need to give us back to us. All right, so you only need to submit your code. During the test time, focus on coding. Right, so remember at 12, the teacher's going to say, okay, now your time starts. Then you have 1, 2, 3. You have till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a 3-hour paper, right? Then The teacher's going to say, okay, now your time is up. Now you hand in. And only then do you worry about how do I make a PDF. So when the coding time is there, you focus on coding. Okay. Once the teacher says your time is up, right, then you prepare your PDF. All right. So you can, if you know how to print to PDF successfully, then you can do that. If you don't, then just create a new Word document, save that new Word document as code, int, and the task number. And then inside the Word document, create headings, question 1, question 2, question 3, however many questions you have, right? And then you simply copy and paste your code. So you go to question 1 in Delphi, select all your code, you copy it, you go to your Word document, you paste it, and you repeat that for question 2, 3, however many questions you are. Then you check your Word document and you make sure it's got question 1's code, it's got question 2 code. You check that all your code is there. One Word document with all your code. And then when you save that Word document, when you go File, you can just save the Word document plain, and then you save it again, File, Save As, and you save it as a PDF. So you go File, Save As, and you choose PDF, and it will create a PDF document for you of all your code. Right, but remember now you have a PDF document of your code, but you still have your cover page. So you need to merge your cover page and your code. All right, so I suggest that you use ilovepdf.com. All right, so you can just type in ilovepdf.com, and then they have a merge option. And when you go into the merge option, you can select, you just say add your cover page first. The order you add it in is the order that it's going to merge it. So add your cover page first, then add your PDF code, and it will merge it into one PDF. But that PDF is going to be called merge. So when you click on download, so it will merge the PDF for you, and then there'll be an option to download the merged PDF. And when you download that merged PDF, it's not going to be named correctly, so you have to rename the PDF to your initial surname, your student number, INT for information technology, task 3.1, and make sure it's still a PDF. Please, when you're done renaming, open that PDF and check it. Check that your cover page is there. Check that all your code is there before you submit it on the OLP. Make sure you submit the right file on the OLP. Make sure that when you open the OLP, you're on the correct subject, you're on the correct date, that you're handing in the task at the correct date and subject. Okay, so what should I study for the practical exam? All work is covered. So you guys remember, in grade 10, your foundation was set. What is a variable? How do I assign a value to a variable? How do I convert between data types? All of those things are basics that you need to know. But your focus must be on your grade 11 term 1 and term 2 work. All right. We did speak about the year plan at the start of the session. And then remember, when you're in the practical, you're working with multiple questions, right? So each question has its own data. So once you look at the data, you've extracted the data, you're going to see there's a question 1 folder, there's a question 2 folder, there's a question 3 folder. Each question has the data for that question in it. Okay, so don't mix two questions. So you're going to go open project and you're going to open the first question. Then you're going to go save all and close all before you go to the next question. Okay, so you're done with question 1, you click on save all, you click on close all, and then you go open project for question 2, so that you do not have two questions open at the same time. Check Delphi is working on your computer. All right. The best way to learn how to code is code. So you should be working through textbook examples. You should be working through past papers, which means your Delphi should be working. So you shouldn't be showing up at the exam with a computer whose Delphi isn't working. Okay. So please make sure that Delphi is working on your computer. Please revise any notes. So as you're doing practical, you should be making notes of things that's important, like always use flow to string F, not just flow to string. All right, so make sure that you have notes and that you go through those notes. Also work through the exercises. Your books all have exercises in. You can go redo exercises you've previously done. To revise grade 10 work, the best way is just to do some activities from the grade 10 textbook. And then please, on your OLP, under resources, there is past papers. Go download those past papers and work through them. Okay. Then the little printed textbook that you guys also got, the Dandelion textbook, right? At the back of it, it also has appendixes, just like the other textbook, the IT's Great textbook with the Appendix C for the Reach Edit. The Dandelion books also have appendixes, right? And at the back, it's right at the back of the little dandelion textbook. It's got nice summaries, like how to round a number, how to do string functions, how to do date functions. It's always a very nice place, a nice summary to go through all your practical work. If you have any questions, you are welcome to contact info@impact.co.za. All right, send them an email. Be specific, add your student number, say this is for information technology so that you can get assistance as soon as possible.